It's 11 and a half minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock on Morning Barbados. And as you know, the protocols surrounding this pandemic have restricted access to a lot of things and abilities to do a lot of things as well, including sports. And a lot of sports people are aching literally to get back onto their fields of endeavor, either as an amateur or a professional. And so the Athletics Association of Barbados is having a panel discussion tomorrow, and they'll be taking a very detailed look at how we can do so safely, returning either medically or psychologically handling what's happening in this pandemic. And I'm joined today by Dorian Best, who is a director with the Athletic Association of Barbados, and a schoolmate of mine, Dr. Rudy Alleyne. Good morning, both of you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let's start with you, Mr. Best. Tell us a little bit about why the the Athletics Association of Barbados is thinking this focus on the medical and psychological considerations for sports during COVID-19 is so critical at this time.
Well, just a little background. As you're aware, for the last 12 months or so, it has been a very difficult time for athletes. You look overseas and see competitions going on, tournaments going on, but in the local context, we have really been restricted here in Barbados. Athletes unable to train properly, mental fatigue, frustration, some federations unable to restart their season, some curtailed. And therefore, it is against that backdrop that the Athletics Association of Barbados sought to bring a webinar series together. It's in association with the Barbados Olympic Association, the National Sports Council, and the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners. So the second in our series goes off tomorrow at 6 p.m. And as you said, it's about medical and psychological considerations for sports during COVID-19. That is the topic that we will be dealing with tomorrow. Medical and psychological considerations for sports during COVID-19, tomorrow at 6 p.m. And we have a really esteemed panel: Dr. Ariane Harvey, Dr. Renee Bess, Dr. Adrian Lord, Dr. June Cattle. And this will be facilitated via Zoom and streamed to the AAB YouTube channel. And I'll now invite Dr. Rudy Alleyne, who's our moderator, to give you some more details about our webinar tomorrow.
Indeed. So, Dr. Alleyne, just break it down. So that's the broad headline: medical and psychological considerations for sports during COVID-19. But let's break it down into the different aspects that you'll be focusing on.
Yes, so we have four fantastic presenters tomorrow. We have Dr. Ariane Harvey, and she'll be presenting on COVID-19 vaccination and the sports person. So I'm sure she'll be telling you about the vaccination, how it may impact the sports person. And then we have Dr. Renee Bess. He's going to be looking at return to sport post-COVID-19 infection. So you may have some athletes who might have been infected with COVID-19, and how do they return back to sport? And he'll talk about that topic and the protocols surrounding that. Dr. June Cattle will look at the psychological support for athletes during COVID-19. A lot of athletes are unable to compete. A lot of athletes are struggling mentally, and therefore the whole idea of them returning back to sport is a fairly daunting one. So Dr. June Cattle will talk about how can athletes cope during this period. And finally, we're going to have Dr. Adrian Lord, who is a stalwart in anti-doping in the region, and he'll be talking about the anti-doping protocols during the COVID-19 pandemic. So those are four very interesting topics. These are all experts in their own right in these areas, and we look forward to fantastic presentations tomorrow night.
Now, on YouTube, you're streaming via the AAB channel, so that's another way that people can access this information. But from your perspective, Rudy, as head of your faculty there, the Academy of Sports, what are some of the challenges that you've had to encounter during this COVID-19 pandemic?
As I said, unfortunately, we haven't been able to participate in any sporting activity this year. And it's a struggle for some of our athletes, trying to keep them focused, trying to help them to understand that this period, even though it's gone on for a long period of time, that it will come to an end at some point. And therefore, trying to get them to understand that, okay, we are working through this, and at some stage, maybe later this year, maybe next year, we will be able to return back to some level of competition. I dare say we're still looking at the possibility of the Olympics later this year. and there are some athletes who are starting to prepare for the Olympics. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Um, Let me say here, Dr. Pearson,
Hmm.
this is really venture. They've asked me to come on and moderate the series, and therefore that's the involvement of UWI. But I'm happy to do that.
So, Mr. Best, I know that you, therefore, your association, the Athletics Association of Barbados, will be agitating and in some way lobbying with government to look at the protocols that have been put in place as it relates to sports people being engaged in their fields of endeavor. What are some of the meetings and some of the things that you've been discussing with the Minister of Sport to start with?
Well, the president of the AAB, Miss Catherine Jordan, really would be going after that area. But obviously, training will be one of the major issues being discussed because we still have competitions such as CARIFTA, such as the Olympics, specifically to do with the AAB. But in order to meet those standards, in order to have our athletes ready and compete at a high level, training will be very, very important. So training would be one of those big issues to be discussed with government.
Well, not every sport, because they're still mindful of the transmission, the method of transmission, and so not every sport will be possible to train in the way that you're seeing it. So, which sports, which disciplines in particular in athletics, because you are the Amateur Athletic Association of Barbados, which disciplines do you see having the greatest challenge in being able to return to competitive sport?
Well, high jump has been one event really that poses the greatest challenge. So going over the bar and landing on a bed, etc., having to sanitize. So the protocols behind sanitization and so, but I just want to say though that athletics really is a non-contact sport. A lot of individualism going on there. So we're really hoping that we can have that return to sports for at least the Athletics Association. But Pearson, let me tell you, these webinars are really for the entire sporting fraternity, not only the Athletics Association. Yes, we are spearheading it, but all sports persons in Barbados are really invited to this webinar tomorrow, as you have it there on the screen.
So every association on the island that is interested in sport really should avail themselves of the access to the experts. Right here, Dr. Ariane Lord, Harvey, Dr. Vern Best, Dr. Adrian Lord, Dr. June Cadell. The psychological impact of these starts and stops, though, have to be tremendous on any athlete, because apart from readying yourself, feeling you're ready and then you're told stop, pause, and then the will to want to continue. Rudy, from your perspective as the Academy of Sport, how do you talk to those who are part of the Academy of Sport to be able to psych them up to continue?
It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job at all. There are a number of mental skills you really have to teach and apply with those student athletes. Things like focusing, refocusing, things like understanding that you'll have disappointments and dealing with challenges, and really working with those athletes to get them mentally prepared to even train. I've had some athletes call this week, and they're chomping at the bits. They want to know when they can come back and start to train on the track. It's a real challenge. I don't want to steal Dr. Cattle's thunder, but I think tomorrow she'll do a lot of those things. And I want to say, I think the AAB is doing a fantastic job opening up these webinars to the entire sporting community and to the entire public of Barbados, because these are very important topics as it relates to sport, not only locally, but regionally and internationally too as well.
It sounds as if it's going to be a really good evening tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday, beginning at what time? 6 o'clock?
6 p.m., yes. And you, Pearson, before we go, you can also find the AAB on YouTube. Just type in Athletics Association of Barbados. We are on Instagram at AA Barbados and Facebook. You can see the flyer there. You can see the YouTube link there. We invite all of Barbados to join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. to share in our topic, medical and psychological considerations for sports during COVID-19.
It is going to be burst, as these people in Barbados would generally say. So there's no limit on the number of people who can access and who could be a part of it all. Great information. Thank you so much, Dorian Best of the Athletics Association of Barbados, one of the directors, and my friend, Dr. Rudolph Alleyne, the head of the Sports Academy at the UWI. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Much success in this endeavor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pearson.
You're very welcome. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll recap the news with you.